Turbo Gone Green Mega Eagle. Alright, folks, how you doing? So I pulled all my old blow lamps out of the container. Well, I just keep them. It's a big old pile of blow lamps in there. Because I wanted to play around with this big one to see how hot it would get, basically. See if I can melt copper with it. Didn't quite get there. Lots of power there, but not quite hot enough. And then I've been doing a bit of knife making since, and that's come quite handy for heat treating. And the little butler I've been using for getting, well, it's not a little black butler, it's little compared to the big one, but this one I've been using a bit for getting tangs hot so I can shove handles on them. I'll probably keep those in the shed for now, because normally for heat treating blades, if I just got one blade that I want to heat treat, I'll use my roofer's torch, but I'm out of gas at the minute, and I'll get free kerosene anyway, so it kind of makes sense to use it. And then on little stuff I use that. I mean, I'll still use that, I still do use it now, isn't it? But it's nice to have some sort of in-betweens that can run on kerosene. So one of the problems with kerosene is it doesn't burn as cleanly as paraffin, and a lot of these say use paraffin on them. And kerosene will nearly always work, but in things with wicks, if you use kerosene, you'll get a big sooty flame, as opposed to paraffin, which burns very cleanly in things with wicks. So these are okay, but I think there's still a bit more deposit. There's a lot of black on them. Kerosene is a distillate of petroleum distillate, so I'm sure everyone knows about fractional distillation. So you got a tower still, basically, and it's got different condensing plates up the tower, and the bottom is the hottest condensing plate, so that's where things like tar and the really heavy stuff settle and they run off. And then a little bit up from that you've got diesel, and then petrol above that, and in between those two you've got kero. So kero is a mixture of different peptanes and whatever they are. I don't know, I'm not that into the petrochemical side of things, but and then paraffin is taken out of kerosene, so they do another process. That's a thermal distillation, and they do a sort of vacuum distillation process. So they'll get it up to a certain temperature and then apply vacuum, and then different elements that will all come out of the fractional still at the same temperature will then split off under different conditions. I'm not entirely sure I've got that perfect, but essentially that's what happens. And I know around the world you call paraffin, some people call kerosene paraffin and paraffin kerosene, and then there's various different names. It's very confusing. It's like lobsters and crayfish, but I'm going off on a tangent now, isn't it? New Zealanders call shrimp. Oh, never mind. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So end of the day, I've got to do a bit of cleaning on this one, because this felt like it was getting blocked up the other day. This one's got a steel tank. It is galvanised, but there's a lot of crust in there, so I'd quite like to just clean the whole thing up. And it's also missing a part, so there should be, I think, a support. There should be a tray here, so you can put fuel in it, and that will get the thing started if you like the fuel in the tray. And it also, I think, should go down into that hole and give the front of this torch a bit of support, because we've got cast iron and a big bit of brass vapor tube here, and it's all hanging off at the moment. It's all hanging off the tap, so I really shouldn't be using it as is. So at the very least I want to make something that just supports the front end, but ideally it'll have a little tray on it, so it'll actually I can actually use it for starting. Then the butler, again, I think it's just because I've been using kero in it. It's just getting a bit sooty, and it's getting harder to start every time I'm using it in the minute. Small price to pay for using free fuel, I suppose. Paraffin's pretty expensive, it's like double the price of kero normally. That's if you're paying for kero. And then my mate Benedict, he wanted to see me get this little petrol one going. I don't think I've ever had that running. I know there's this one out of the petrol ones. I've definitely had this one running, but I can't get this one running at the minute either. This is a Sievert. I thought this was a Sievert, but it's not. It actually says Monitor on the side. It's still Swedish, I think. Finnish it says here, but that's stamped in is it? Some of the monitors say made in England. I don't know, we're all over the place with these things anyway. And I do have another petrol one. Again, I don't think I've ever tried to light that one. So we'll just go through them. I'd like to, you know, start with the big one and the Butler, get them nicely sorted, and then I'll keep them in here. And then the others we'll just have a little play with, see we get them petrol ones working and whatnot, and just, you know, it's all fire and fireballs. It's all fun. I know you guys like a bit of flamey fire fun, don't you? Hey, all right. Oh yeah, got I've had this a little while. Ultrasonic cleaner. It's really good for fuel injectors and stuff like that. That's, you know, originally why I got it. For, you know, I can use it as an excuse buying something like that because I occasionally have to pull the injectors out of an airplane or something like that, and I can bring them back here, stick them in there, and they're beautiful then. But mainly I got a really big one because I don't need anything that big for aircraft injectors because they're tiny. They're constant flow injection, so it's basically just a little brass jet that's always having fuel jammed down it. Really crude, ancient mechanical fuel injection on the you know, on the aircraft. But it's good for that. This is a 3 litre tank in this one. It's far away. Yeah. But yeah, I got a bigger one than I needed because you know, things just like this, and I don't do aircraft carburetors. It's always easier just to buy a new one or a factory reconditioned one. Far less liability for me, and I'm not actually allowed to pull them apart. Despite them being incredibly simple, I wouldn't do that. Because even from the factory, sometimes they'll leak straight away, isn't it? So the factory can't get it right now. I'll not risk doing something I'm not supposed to be doing anyway and getting locked up if I kill someone. So yeah, it's going to jail. So ultrasonic bath there, and we'll break them down one at a time, stick them in there. Nice to get the whole tank in there, but obviously I won't do with this one because you know, the tank on this one's 5 litres and I've only got a 3 litre ultrasonic bath. It's heating up at the minute. I've got a mixture of non-caustic. Always make sure you use non-caustic. Yeah, if you've got a caustic, basically my rule, because they don't say non-caustic on them, if they are caustic they should have a little Bernie hand symbol. I'm sure I've got a Bernie hand symbol. You know what the Bernie hand symbol is anyway, the little triangle with the hand being melted by acid on it, yeah? But if you don't have it, it probably means it's non-caustic, which is great, exactly what you want for putting in there. It'll probably brighten brass up quite nicely, but if you accidentally put a bit of alley in there or something, it'll just eat it. Especially at heat, and I'll generally, when I'm using this bath, have it cranked right up to 90 because it gets the shit out a lot better, to be honest. Just a little dribble of this, about a cupful of this stuff, and the rest of it's water. So I'll just let that clean up, and I'll pull the big blowtorch apart and get you back here in a minute, folks. Okay, so that's the little jet. You can't really see the jet at the minute. Yeah. Not that bad. There's no hard deposits on it. Like I can see, this is the sort of flame tube. The jet sits in here. Fuel deliveries comes along here, and then this is sitting. It's this element here is shielded with a lump of cast iron, but I mean this is brass, and the fuel runs along here because the tank's pressurised and comes up these pipes and vaporises basically because it's so hot, and then comes out of here, you know, as a vapour and burns instantly with, like, you know, 20 to 40 psi behind it. Okay, so the first bunch of bits, well, I'm not really that worried how they look. It's merely just to get them operating nicely. So it's not a beauty contest, lads. The thing is, as soon as I use these, they're going to be covered in all sorts of nasty things as well. These bits didn't really need that much of a clean, to be honest. Oh, that pump's come out nice. What else in here? Oh, the lid. Yeah, it's a lovely thing about ultrasonic cleaners. You can, you know, you can leave your bits of seal in there, you know, or bits of rubber or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to stick this. Be a little bit gentle with this jet. I'm just going to. Oh no, is that? It's not even going to fit, is it? Fucking thing's too big. Okay, all right. We'll just flip it over halfway through and stick the jet in there as well. Those are the bits that are really important, I suppose. The reason this is nice is it cleans inside the pipe as well as outside. But because you've got quite a few twisty bendy bits, we'll have to give it a good blast out with some compressed air when we're done. Okay, it's not good inside this tank, folks. I did know about this, and to be honest, it's a miracle it ever worked. Let's try and get you a look inside, yeah. So there's the end of the pickup line that comes, bends round and comes out of here. But yeah, you can see the being a galvanised steel tank, there's barnacles and all sorts all over it. It actually looks like, I mean, there's a big scum line down there. It looks like it's actually sat with water in it for some time. Definitely not since I've had it or since I picked it up or whatever. I think, you know, most of these I got in a job lot, you know, various different job lots of old tools that, you know, I like to pick up, or people have been clearing away, you know, dead relative stuff or whatever, and offered them to me, and you know, along with a load of other tools that I have. You know, I just people seem to know that I'm the sort of person that never says no to old tools, I suppose. But yeah, I'm not overly worried about this, but it would be nice to clean it up. I mean, it's been working with a load of crust in there. I'll get these cups empty, and you can see the amount of filth that is in there. But that's what we'd call the sort of waterborne filth. The stuff that's floating around in this fuel now would be what's going through the torch, and that's why it, you know, runs a bit differently from time to time, I suppose, because it gets blocked up. I've had to block this up unblock it a few times. When I very first got it started, it needed a good old flush out on that. But I've never done anything about the tank. What I'll probably do is stick some ceramic bead that I've got. I'll stick it in there and give it a good shake around, and it should knock the worst of this off, and then it should hopefully be a little bit better, as long as I, you know, keep it all shut off so it can't condensate in there. Yeah, so as you see, I had this mounted on the reciprocating saw, on the power hacksaw. It's cleaned the surface, but it hasn't cleaned the rust, which is disappointing. I think I would have had to use something a lot heavier, but then it would have probably taken the plating off the inside. This is 100 times better than it was. It's not great though. Like, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but it's not even stable, is it? Let's face it. But you know, anything I do to take that off is gonna damage the plating, so I'm gonna leave it as it is. That pickup pipe's a little way off the bottom, so it's not like it should suck, you know, all the sediment up, is it? So I just have to keep an eye on it. Either way, I'm going to dry this out and put it back together now. I just had to flush it out with the garden hose. Okay, so I've got the big one back together, and in the meantime, whilst I was drying out that tank, I pulled this one down and stuck it in the ultrasonic bath. So that's cleaned out now. With this one, I've just got to make a tray to sit under this. I found a couple of pictures of these online, and they're pretty heavy cast iron affairs. So I'm just going to make one out of steel. I'll turn down a big bit of steel to make a sort of cup, not that deep, quite shallow, and then a trough coming back. And we need something poking down in this hole to lock it into the tank, and then we can sort of jack it up on this nut. And there's also a couple of long holes back here that we need screws through into my bit of steel to stop this flapping around, and then it'll be good as new, folks, won't it? Eh? Apart from the rust in the tank, but shh. Okay, so here's what I've come up with. It's just a pan. This is hogged out on the lathe. Half a bit of pipe, a couple of wings to attach the shroud, and two M10 bolts. Okay, so got the blowtorch without the burner on at the minute, and that's the slot this little tray sits in. Goes in like that, pretty solid, and I'll just pop the rest on and show you what it's like. Okay, here we go. It's a tiny bit crude, but you know, shows the rest of the torch. I have actually ordered some olive drab paint. I'm kind of liking the idea of painting this now, but that won't come anytime soon. Basically, what this will do is when I'm starting this up, it will prevent. It will give me a place to put the fuel, which will heat the vapor tubes. Without me having to hold a blowtorch on it to get it running, and B, when it does start running, you know, sometimes you get a squirty liquid fuel still coming out, and when I've been using this, it just goes down onto the floor and sets the floor on fire, which is why it's quite blackened. So this will be you know, it should mean I can use this properly now, isn't it? Which is nice. It's nice, and thirdly, it gives a bit of support to that head. I mean, that's the main reason for doing it, really. It was starting to wrinkle up round the back here because it's all hanging off this bit of sheet steel. So eventually that's going to fatigue and break, and then this tank would no longer be fuel tight, would it? But hey, that's cool. That's sorted now. We'll have to check if it runs in a bit. Last thing we've got the Butler done, we've got the big one sorted, hopefully. We haven't tried it yet. Last thing I did say to Benedict I'd try and get the the tiny little one going. So we'll have this apart, we'll warm up the ultrasonic bath again and try and get this little petrol one going, benzene or gas if you're in the States. Which gets confusing, doesn't it? Because, you know, if I talk about a gas blowtorch, it's something that runs on what's on a can? I mean, why call it gas? I mean, makes no sense at all, does it? Come on, chaps. Okay, so I've got this little monitor stripped down. That's the jet. I can barely see through that, but it is a very, very small jet. I think the problem is here. There's no packing in the gland for the control knob, and we've lost a little needle off the end here. Let me try and give you a close up of this. So that's the end of the control knob. You can see a tiny little whisker of something protruding, and this is rust all over it. I think this is brass, but it's still covered in rust. I think the needle's either stuck in the jet there, or it's just completely disintegrated over time. But it does look like this has had some water damage on it. Look, here's what a needle should look like out of a slightly bigger torch. Again, a petrol torch. I don't know how we're going to make that. That seems a little bit challenging. I think what I'll probably do is go looking at this should unscrew from the end. This piece, I think you can see a couple of threads in the nose of it, just here. I'm going to stick this in the ultrasonic bath. Yeah, it's all going to go in the ultrasonic bath, and then the shaft's a little bit bent as well. I don't think the shaft being bent is going to be a massive problem, but obviously not having a needle is a massive problem. So I'm going to get these cleaned up, try and unscrew this, let it sit in a bit of oil for a while, try and unscrew this, and then have a look at bits of cable and wire, see if I can take a strand out, see if that's anything like the right sort of size for this pin needle. Okay, so maximum zoom. Okay, no, that's not working, is it? No, that's not going to work. Bugger. Okay. Alright. Basically, this little, the little needle sits. The needle isn't the valve. Yeah, the needle's basically an inbuilt pricker, and the job of the pricker is to keep the orifice clean. So every time you shut the valve off, it'll put this tiny little pin through the pricking pin through the oh, there we go, there's better, and the pricking pin should sit out the end of it. In fact, like, I've still got a little whisker of it still poking out, yeah. But that cone right there is the actual valve, yeah. So it's a classic brass needle valve, just with a wire pricker coming out the end of it, and the pricker is installed before the cone is put on there, yeah. So you can see a little S-shaped cut in the end of the needle. Yeah, you see that? So I think this is a solid piece of brass. They stick the pin in, crimp it, and then turn the angle for the valve seat itself, the taper for the valve, I suppose. It's probably a better way of saying it. So there's no chance of me. My lathe won't take this. I can't reproduce this or put a fresh bit of wire in there and then expect. There you go. There's the S shape. and then expect to get this sealing up again. So what I'll have to do is basically just use this as a valve and prick it manually if I have to. So it's a little bit disappointing, but it still should still work as a blowtorch. The only concerns I have now, I mean, obviously without fixing this, is making a gland, and I believe graphite tape is what was normally used. We need a gland in here to seal it up. These rely on the pressure of the tank to keep themselves going, so you do need good seals. I haven't got any graphite tape, so I'll try and use PTFE tape instead. And then the fuel cap, wherever that's gone, needs a little seal on it. Let's make them. Okay, so we've got fuel in here. I've just opened the valve. It's started. Look, you can see the fuel weeping out of it already. If we shut the valve, it should stop. Basically, with the petrol ones, you've got no pump. You know, just the heat of your hand will expand the fuel enough to start coming out here. And this one, with the valve open, we've got a little dribble of fuel already, and I've never had that out of this one before. So my little tiny little O-ring in there, and we've only got a couple of threads on this fuel cap, but that seems to have sealed it up already. And the same with my bodged up PTFE gland on the back here. Oh, we are getting quite a lot of fuel out of here now, so we better light it up. These are really easy to start up, you know, the petrol ones. Very easy. I can see it weeping with fuel at the back here. That's not good. Whoa! Oh, they're a lot of fun, aren't they? Let's shut you off a second, eh? Wait for a bit of heat. It's a very cold day. I'll try and back you up so you can see what I'm setting fire to with this. Oh, I do like playing with fire, and I know you lot enjoy enjoy a bit of fire too, isn't it? Yeah. I'm just curious as to what sort of power this thing makes, to be honest. It is a very small blowtorch, you know. This, like, unlike the paraffin one, this hasn't got a big cooling, vapor tube or anything like that. It's just you know, the heat conducting into this pipe is enough to vaporise the petrol. As we all know, it cooks off at a lot lower temperature, doesn't it? Oh, it doesn't want to light now. There's pressure there, so it should go. No, we didn't have it open enough. This is where we get an explosion. Not really much I can do. The valve's wound right out. Just have to let it do its thing. It's at least holding pressure now, which is good. Oh, it's not actually shutting off. That's probably. Fuck it! Oh, now I've set fire to the shed. God damn it! God damn it! Oh, breaking my fucking Hoover. Yeah, this is where I like the metal Hoover. It's only the only the bloody hose that I've melted, isn't it? Yeah, Should have been a little bit more careful with that, eh? Oh well. At least the whole shed's not on fire. Let's try. let's try with a bit of paraffin instead, eh? Seems a little bit more sensible, doesn't it? Does actually have a bit of wire. I don't know if you can see that. A bit of wire that sits in that recess. I suppose that's to conduct heat actually down into the fuel. It comes all the way out the bottom. It's not paraffin, it's kerosene. Sorry. No, what a moment for the camera to fog up. I think I'll actually go this time. Okay, so I think what happened here, it became pretty self-evident after the camera fogged up and I turned it off. This is meant to get hot, you know. It has to get hot to cook the fuel off a bit, so that we get vapours out the front. And the PTFE seal that I put in the back, it just plumber's tape, you know. I just what do you call it? I just rub it between my fingers, so I've got basically a PTFE cord, then wind it round in front of this nut and then jam the nut in. I've done it on you know, spray guns quite successfully, you know, a bit, but spray guns don't get hot. So I ended up with quite a lot of vapours coming out the back here. So it's never going to hold pressure. The tank seal seems to work quite nicely. It's just a very small O-ring in there. So either way, I've ordered some graphite tape, which is what you're meant to use for glam packing and stuff. I don't have any, so I can't really finish this now. Then we've got lots of other things to do, so what I'll do, I'll wait for that to come and maybe just put a tiny little short video up of this thing running once I do get it there. Right. Okay, I'll leave it there for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. Nearly set fire to the shed, which is always a momentous occasion. Didn't know, so you know, that's something, I suppose. Yeah. What? We'll fire the big one up again when I get the bits for this. I think the big one could probably do with a new gland as well. It did weep out of there, so we'll get them all nice and good and proper. But that'll have to wait for another day. All right. Okay. Take it easy, folks. Bye bye.